Welcome to the Breaking the Barriers podcast, brought to you by Resilience Mindset, a division of Justine Martin Corporation. This podcast is your front row seat to inspiration, empowerment, and real-life stories that will leave you in awe. Join our host Justine Martin, CEO and founder of Resilience Mindset, as we dive into the incredible lives of the 27 models featured in the groundbreaking community project, Breaking Barrier Stories Through the Lens. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and get ready for stories that will uplift, empower, and inspire.
Today on the podcast, we're joined by the incredible Sandy Johnston, a woman of resilience, self-discovery, and strength. Born with Klippel-Feil syndrome and Sprengel's shoulder, Sandy has faced a lifetime of physical challenges and chronic pain. Yet she's chosen to embrace life fully, transforming obstacles into opportunities for growth. From her experiences as an exchange student to rebuilding her life after escaping psychological abuse, Sandy's journey has been one of courage and self-acceptance. Now she advocates for greater awareness of invisible disabilities, challenging societal misconceptions and encouraging others to live unapologetically. Her message is powerful. Disability isn't a dirty word and it doesn't define who I am. Own who you are, unapologetically. Let's welcome the inspiring Sandy Johnston to the show. Hi Sandy, how are you today?
Yeah, very good.
That's
Thanks,
good.
Justine.
How's this project been for you?
Very interesting. I think it's a fantastic initiative and I'm really enjoying it. I'm loving being a part of it.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about you.
So my name's Sandy. Hasn't always been Sandy. I started out with a different name, was born with a different name. And I suppose a reason why I have come into this project is because of who I was born into being. And so I came into the world with some physical anomalies, if you like. And that involved having a syndrome and another thing called Klippel-Feil syndrome and Sprengel shoulder. So they were the two things that I was diagnosed with. It when I was my mother noticed I was crawling oddly when I was little, and then through x-rays and various other things I was diagnosed with these things that meant that my mobility was diminished, with my left hand side, and also my range of motion with my the way in which I can turn my head, because I've got two vertebrae that are fused together in my neck and I'm missing a vertebrae. So what that kind of resulted in was me suffering from chronic pain from a young age. So chronic pain has been a companion of mine through my life, and one which I haven't had the best relationship with for most of my life. But
I don't know many people that
do. It's a real challenge, and I think that I've had to try and make peace with that companion, knowing that that companion is going to stay with me for the rest of my life. That there are things that I've learned that having an angry attitude towards that companion actually is like a poison chalice for me, that if I start getting very angry towards that pain, it actually increases the level of pain that I experience. So I'm very mindful of that, and when I feel those negative feelings start to rise up in me, then I consciously address them by changing that to
that narrative.
Absolutely changing that narrative, because from a young age I've been very determined to find ways to live a full life in spite of those things that are barriers or have been barriers and can be barriers. So I try and work on those barriers and try and make those barriers a little bit smaller if I can.
So it's not about, for me, with everything that's wrong with me, it's not about liking it. You don't have to like it. I don't like that I've got MS, but I accept that I have MS.
Yes.
And when you get to that acceptance stage, which you obviously are, then because you're not angry, because all that extra energy isn't there, you definitely don't hurt quite as much. Yeah, you're more of a peace within your mind.
Have you ever thought about writing your own book? Join the Morpheus Publishing Writing Group program and turn your dream into reality. Contact Morpheus Publishing today and start your journey to becoming a published author.
So, what are some of the proudest moments in your life?
So I feel like I've done some pretty extraordinary things in my life. I think one of the markers for me would have been when I was a teenager. I had an opportunity to be an exchange student to overseas. Didn't quite know where I was going to end up when I applied to do that, but ended up going to America and spent a year living in America, going to an American high school, integrating into a new community and staying with 5 different host families during that time. And that experience, I think I landed in the perfect place because the American culture is full of positivity. A lot of people might think maybe they're a bit over the top with being hyped. And so it's not necessarily like a genuine thing. However, it really had a positive, flow-on effect for me. So I came back from that experience believing in myself, but believing that anything that I wanted to do was possible. And
you'd already done a big thing by going overseas with a disability.
Yes, I had done that. And so I guess there's 2 sides to me, as there are to all of us. One is that voice of positivity, and then there's also the voice of negativity. And perhaps for me, I can only speak from my own experience, but I grew up in a family where my father spoke positivity over me and made me feel as though I was special, made me feel as though if I wanted to do something, that of course I could do that. He always saw potential in me. Whereas my mother, being the nurturer, being the protector, was actually kept me small with her beliefs about my capabilities, not because she wanted to make my life smaller. I don't think that was what was happening. I believe in my heart of hearts she was trying to protect me from suffering. And so
that was her way of nurturing.
That's right. That was her way of saying, I'm here to look after you. I want to make sure that you don't get hurt. I know that you've got some issues that are going to make things harder for you. And she didn't want me facing those hardships and all those challenges. So I know where her motivation stemmed from. But then what that instilled in me was these dual beliefs. One was
that you can do this.
That I can do anything, that I am amazing, that I...
Which you are.
The sky's the limit. To this other voice that was telling me that I wasn't good enough, that I, didn't have the capability to
So how did you overcome that then?
And that I needed to be looked after, basically. That was, that was the messaging that I was getting, is that I couldn't be that strong, independent person, that I always needed to rely on others to basically rescue me or look after me. So, and that had a profound effect on my life, in all aspects of my life, and played out because those beliefs had to I guess, establish themselves for me by things that were actually happening for me in my life. So I was constantly sort of striving for, you know, ambitious objectives and goals and things, and then on the other hand I would end up in relationships that were quite toxic and would undermine all of that security and all of that confidence that I was trying to build up for myself.
You've broken away from that.
Yes, I have.
At what point did that happen?
So that was that all happened. We're going back about 10 years now. So I was fell into a relationship with somebody who was narcissistic, somebody who used a lot of coercive control. So there was a lot of psychological abuse. And so I'm one of the 1 in 4 women who experiences some form of domestic violence, and I didn't actually even identify with that as being something that was happening to me at the time I was in that relationship.
I can speak from experience on this one too, and you don't realise that it's because it's gradual. It's a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here.
That's right, and it escalates over time, so it's very insidious. It isn't apparent. It's not black and white.
Yeah.
Lots of different shades of grey going on, and when there's coercive control and that psychological manipulation, you're made to feel as though somehow it's your fault. The underlying problem it is made to feel like it's you're the problem.
And they tend to pick a target that has a disability.
Yes. So
or has struggled in something in their lives, because that gives them more power over the top.
Yeah, that vulnerability. So and the statistics for women to experience different forms of domestic violence or abuse increased so much when it comes to women living with disabilities, because of their vulnerability. So that was the situation that I found myself in, and I didn't think that it was going to get to a point where it would become life-threatening, but it did. It became life-threatening for myself and my children, and I had no choice but to flee. And by that point, my life is very broken, and all sense of security had been undermined in my life, and I needed to advocate very strongly to get the support that I needed to actually stay safe and keep my children safe, which I negotiated and managed to do. It was very, very difficult at the time, and yes, I was very hypervigilant, very traumatised throughout the whole thing, and it has been a hard path, working on my recovery, but that's what I have done and chosen to prioritise in my life, and it's made me understand my innate worth and actually helped me to go very deep into why didn't I value myself? Why
ask the hard questions to yourself.
What is it? Why didn't I like myself? And which is what I discovered was at the root of it was these feelings of worthlessness or not being as valuable as other
So that
people.
came back from your disability?
Yes, absolutely. It was very, very much attached to the disability of it, because I've always felt that it set me apart, and I saw things, as people being normal, and then there was me.
Yeah.
But now, I'm older and a bit wiser and a bit more experienced in these things. I know that disability is not always a visible thing.
No.
And there are varying degrees of disability, and they can be quite unique to what one person is facing and what another person is facing. And so now I see that even people who I would deem as being normal have challenges in their life.
Everyone has challenges.
Everybody has challenges. So I guess disability for me seemed to be quite a dirty word and a very negative word, and I didn't want to. I really struggled with trying to keep that label off. I didn't want to adopt that label.
So what changed? Or when did it change?
So I think it changed when I grew to a place of self-acceptance and self-love. And just acknowledged that it was okay for me to be absolutely 100% who I am without being apologetic, without making excuses, without putting on a mask and pretending that I was something else or somebody else. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Sandy. Thank you for sharing all that.
Are you loving the podcast so far? Imagine the possibilities if you had Justine Martin guiding you through your writing journey. Whether you're crafting your next big book or perfecting a personal project, Justine's expertise can elevate your work. Don't miss out on the chance to work with a seasoned pro, ready to take your writing to the next level. Message us today and let's make your writing dreams come true.
What advice would you give someone else who was facing disabilities?
So I would say surround yourself with support, with people who are non-judgmental, people who are empathetic. Start working on yourself if you haven't already, or if you have, stay on that path, because there is effort involved in, you might have to dig deeper than perhaps the average person has to dig. And I've cultivated lots of practices in my life that help to buoy me up and help me to get through the days and in a positive way, and to I guess, explore more of my life, get out of my comfort zones, because it's very understandable to withdraw from life because the challenges seem to be too big to be able to overcome. But I would just encourage you to participate in life as much as you possibly can.
So like you're participating in the project?
Yes, right? Yes, absolutely.
Why did you want to do the project?
It's part of, I guess, my hope that my example of my life and perhaps some of the challenges that I faced in my life, that other people might identify with that. And not only that, that maybe there are people who might see this who don't have much of an idea about disability and what that looks like, or they might have a very sort of narrow view of what disability is. And I guess I just wanted to, a lot of people to look at me would not see that I have disabilities. And so I just wanted to be that person who comes on and those disabilities aren't evident, perhaps when you look at me, but to say that don't judge people by the way they look, don't judge a book by its cover. Everybody is their own expert in their life, and to give space for that when you meet people, to be empathetic and understand that if people seem to be complex, or if they have things going on in their life where you kind of think, well, come on, you should be able to just get on with it, that you're not walking a mile in their shoes, and just to be understanding about that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking part. It's been an absolute pleasure having you.
Thank you. Thank you. I've loved it. Thanks, Justine.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Breaking the Barriers. We hope these stories inspired you as much as they inspired us. Stay connected and keep the conversation going by following us on social media at Resilience Mindset. We'd love to hear your thoughts and see how these stories resonate with you. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast today so you never miss an episode. Together, let's continue to celebrate resilience, diversity, and the power of storytelling.
Until next time, stay strong, stay inspired, and keep breaking those barriers.